in the cold, believe it or not. But the cold and higher elevations, oh my gosh, make my pain so bad. And, that means I'm down here in Texas, which I love, except in the summer. But I would like a little cold. I'd like some country life, you know what I mean? It made me miserable. So it was up in that situation around Christmas time that my wife finally said to me, I'm not going to listen to you whine anymore about your pain unless you try something else. I'm like, I tried everything else. We've gone everywhere. It works for a while and then it stops. Why haven't you tried Relief Factor? It's on your own network if you watch the commercials. And I'm like, I don't watch the commercials. Who believes commercials? Anyway, I tried it because she forced me. And 2 weeks later, she asked me, how's your baby? It's not as good as you would think. I would have expected better. I've been on it now for almost 3 years. I take it every day, 3 times a day. It has changed my life. Try Relief Factor. It's only $19.95. It's a disgusting depths of a dumpster next to the future political career of Beto O'Rourke.
Stu does sarcasm.
Wasn't that incredible?
Stu does interviews.
Are you all impressed by Hunter Biden? You're Hunter Biden, you gotta go. Cocaine.
Stu.
What I'm about to tell you is real.
Does.
Yay!
America.
I mean, the show, it's great. Whatever.
Stu Does America. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern on Blaze Live.
So I'm watching Steve Deace, whose name doesn't even make sense. I guess the first E is silent. But Steve was talking about the polls, and he didn't believe any of them. And I'm watching, and he's pointing out stuff I did not even know. Steve is here. Steve, you say these poll numbers is part of this spin to set us up to if Donald Trump wins, everybody will say the poll numbers were not even close. This is a fixed, rigged election. Is that right?
Well, it's one of two things. Either all these people simultaneously suck at this, or they're setting up a narrative for when they want to challenge the election later. They can say, hey, we had all this data that showed there was no way he could win. He must have stolen the election. So I'll let that be in the eye of the beholder, Glenn, but it's one of those two things.
Okay, so real quick, take us through, because I thought this was stunning. And I didn't notice it, and I look at these things. Independents are way under surveyed.
In the Fox News, the latest Fox News poll, 5% of the electorate. In the latest Reuters poll, they were 10% of the electorate. Just to put that in perspective, in the last 7 presidential elections, if you go back further than that, you're in an era where states weren't as polarized as they are now. So you really can't go any further back than, say, 1992. And in the last 7 presidential elections, the average turnout of independents in this country has been 27%. So just a bit outside, as the great prophet Bob Uecker once said.
That is an important group for President Trump. A lot of people don't call themselves Republican or Democrat, and it was the independents that swung for Donald Trump, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, in the last election, he won them by 5 points. You can win the election without winning independents. George W. Bush did it in 2004. He narrowly lost them. Obama lost them by 5 points to Romney in 2008. But it's not a recommended way to win.
Right.
There's a poll out. There's a poll out just this week from PBS and NPR that was done by Marist College. It has Joe Biden winning independents by 21 points. To put that in perspective, in the last 7 presidential elections, no one has won independents by more than 8 points. Glenn, they could poll the independents that watch PBS and listen to NPR, and they wouldn't get Joe Biden by 21 points.
So here's what I don't understand. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go.
The point I was going to make is these internal mechanisms are important. Here's why. You have to know how they came to the conclusions they did. What raw data exists within their methodology that leads to a top-line result? When we get a poll, that's not the raw data. It's not like they're doing tallies and 44% said Biden and 40% said Trump. They wrote them all down and reported them. That is the weighted conclusion of the pollster based on the answers to the questions that they asked. And so when you get samples that that show Joe Biden's going to win 1/3 of the electorate by 21 points, that's going to throw off the rest of your answers. When you get samples that have shown in recent, the latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll had Donald Trump losing 11 points of his evangelical support. That's never going to happen. Never. Well, if that happens, yeah, Joe Biden will win and win comfortably. It's just not going to happen. Another poll showed that there would be only 14% of the electorate would be evangelicals. In the last 7 presidential elections, since 2004, it hasn't been below 23%. That's not going to happen either. And so we can't just say, because we don't like the result, the polls are fake, then we kind of sound like them, which is dumb.
Right.
We have to actually go inside their numbers and point out where we can call BS. And a lot of these findings just simply can't happen in any of the 9 realms. The stuff they're talking about cannot occur.
Steve, I want to be wrong about the 7 pillars of color revolution. I don't want to believe that there are people who, I think some of these people probably just think they're really doing the right thing for the country. You know, some of these ambassadors and everything else that were part of this, they probably think they're right and they're probably good guys. But I can't, nothing else solves the puzzle with all of these things. When you look at the polls, that fits into the color revolution of making sure that it looks like he's not going to win. So when he does, if he does, you say, no poll showed that. This is all due to cheating.
Glenn, I'm with you. I tried to give Robert Mueller a fair shake, given his past record of service to the country. That was a scam. I tried to listen to Christine Blasey Ford's accusations and give her a fair hearing.
Yep.
That was a scam. Every time we try to give this system and say, all right, listen, we'll hear what you have to say, it's always a lie. And so, you know, it's the same thing we've seen with the COVID panic porn this year. And I think the same people that have done a lot of our COVID data are doing the polling right now.
Okay, real
Joe
quick.
Biden may win, but it won't be by any of the methodologies that are in any of these polls.
Okay, real quick. You are a guy who's done this for a living. You went out on campaign trails. You were an advisor to campaigns. You've seen polls. If somebody would have brought that to you, those polls, what would you say?
If somebody would have brought me the Emerson poll that had Trump with this highest percentage of Hispanics by a Republican since Reagan and the highest percentage of black voters by a Republican since 1960 and said, but he's still going to lose by 6 points, my next 2 words would have been, you're fired.
Back in a minute.